Hey everyone, wanted to take a little bit of time to just go over how the dot product works. Now, I've summarized basically the four formulas that you're going to be responsible for when you have vectors u and v. The first thing right here is number one. If you have to find the dot product of u and v, it's the magnitude of u times the magnitude of v times the cosine of the angle between them. And over here on my diagram, you can see here is the angle between the two vectors. Now it turns out to be equivalent to multiplying the corresponding entries in the two vectors if you have it in component form. So it's equal to doing u1 times v1 plus u2 times v2 plus u3 times v3. And those things, almost miraculously, when combined, give you the same as the dot product that we've seen before with the cosine in it. The second and third and fourth formulas we'll go to in a little bit. Okay, so if I'm given some three vectors, so for example, u is the vector 3, -2, 8, and v is the vector 2, 0, 3, if I wanted to find u dot v, I'm just going to use the method that we just discussed. So I will multiply the 3 times the 2, which is 6, plus -2 times 0, which is 0, plus 8 times 3, which is 24, and I will get that the dot product in this case is equal to 30. The fact that it's a positive number essentially means that the two vectors are going in some fashion in the same direction. If it was a negative, it would mean they were going in some fashion in opposite directions. Basically, it turns out that theta is either an acute or an obtuse angle. Now, if I wanted to do, say, a different dot product, v dot w, of course, I would just use the different components. Okay, so now let's look at number 2. What if I wanted to find the angle between the two vectors u and v? Well, this formula arises from the first two formulas for the dot product, and it allows you to solve the equation for cosine theta, and it's u dot v over the magnitude of u times the magnitude of v. So in this case, I could say cosine theta is equal to u dot v divided by the magnitude of u times the magnitude of v. U dot v we just did, that was 30, and the magnitude of u is the sum of the squares of its components. So it's going to be 3 squared plus a -2 squared plus an 8 squared. Extend it out. And then the magnitude of v would be equal to 2 squared plus 0 squared plus 3 squared. So that's equal to 30 over the square root of 77, and then the square root of 4 plus 9 is equal to the square root of 13. And that is the cosine of theta. So that tells us that theta is equal to the inverse cosine, or the arc cosine, of 30 over the square root, and you can make it 77 times 13 under 1 square root if you want. And that is equal to, in degree mode, approximately 18.5 degrees. Okay, so that summarizes the first two steps here. I'm going to do a separate video doing part 3 and part 4. All right, thanks. Bye.